Welcome to Pete and Hannah's Watch List. I'm your host, Pete Mitchell, and we're here today for We Interrupt Regular Programming, our TV podcast. On today's show, we're going to continue our look at Curb Your Enthusiasm, the last season. We're also going to have a look at the HBO drama comedy, Regime, and we'll have a look at New Look, which is on Apple TV+. But before we begin, I'm going to tell you listeners and viewers what they should do. Like, follow, subscribe all our channels, including YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, X, Facebook. You can also catch us on Apple and Spotify podcasts. Hit the notification button and you'll get great content like this one. Great week on the channel. We've got What's Next, where we're reviewing Immaculate, the Sydney Sweeney horror thriller. We're also going to take a look at Wicked Little Letters and Ghostbusters, the Frozen Empire, which is the new Ghostbusters movie that was released this week as well. AFI Top 100 this week is Titanic, and we'll continue our great segments of movie news and clickbait. Let's get on to today's show, and let's start with Curb Your Enthusiasm. This episode was fantastic again. Larry David, Richard Lewis was in this episode. We lost Richard a couple of weeks ago, and we just saw his comedic talents in this episode where he's trying to buy a new Mercedes, a classic Mercedes, but he has COVID nose. He's lost his sense of smell, so he brings on Larry to help him, and Larry goes, "You can't buy this car, it smells like smoke." But then Larry makes an off-beat comment to Steve Buscemi, who's guest starring in this, saying, you know, "At least you haven't got a colostomy bag," and then he gives him a look, and then he works out that the guy's just had abdominal surgery. Meanwhile, Jeff and Susie, Jeff's about to have an operation. He's worried that Susie's going to pull the plug if anything goes wrong, and he gets Larry to be his power of attorney. We also have the court case in Georgia. His lawyer Mantle is doing a mock trial. Larry parks down the car park and throws his keys to the valet, but he gets this weird look from this guy, and the guy turns out to be on the mock jury, and he ends up losing the mock trial, and he thinks it's because Larry's a big shot, and Larry is convinced that the reason why he lost is because everyone thinks he's a big shot. What else do we get in this episode? We've got once Larry says to apologise to the Steve Buscemi's character about the car, he buys the car. Richard sees Larry in the car, and he says, "You're a snake, you bought the car." And Larry goes, "I only bought the car because I said the guy had a colostomy bag." Also in this episode is the great Conan O'Brien, who guest stars, and Larry sees Conan O'Brien walking through his neighbourhood with their Dalmatian dog, and he didn't want to go up to him because he's, you know, the code of going up and bothering. But Richard is a good friend of Conan, and so he asked Richard to give him the go-ahead to. He sees Conan one day. He thinks he's got the go-ahead, but he doesn't, because Richard has not asked for the go-ahead for Larry, and then Conan is all uppity because you didn't get the go-ahead. So Larry's now the power of attorney for Jeff. He goes over to Susie's and Jeff's house. He leaves some cheese, and Susie and Jeff eat that cheese. So Larry decides he goes gets more cheese, and he leaves it back in the back of the Mercedes that he finally has to sell to Richard at a reduced price to make up for snaking it from him. Back to the mock trial, he goes in there and throws the keys to another valet, and the guy sees him downstairs in the car park, and so Larry has just EV charged his BMW. The guy takes the EV charge out. Larry gets a message that the power of attorney papers, are going to Jeff's house. He's trying to stop it, so Susie doesn't figure out that he is the power of attorney. He drives his electric car, and it runs out of charge, and he sees Conan O'Brien's house. He runs in there. He still hasn't got clearance from Richard, and he convinces Conan to let him borrow his car so he can go and save Jeff from Susie finding out that he's changed their power of attorney because he didn't want Susie to be the power of attorney because he was afraid she was going to pull the plug. Conan throws the keys at Larry, and Larry is not paying attention because he's wiping something from his glasses, and he gets poked in the eye. And the next scene is Larry with one eye. Jeff's got one eye because Susie's poked it out because making the boys change their power of attorney back to Susie. Great episode. How this ends is fantastic. Richard's going on a date. He's got the Mercedes. He goes and picks up his new date. Larry realizes he left the cheese in the back of the car and laughs. And then Richard, because he's lost his sense of smell, picks up his date, and there is a problem. She smells the cheese that's been in the car, and Richard goes, "Oh, what's the matter? What's the matter?" And he's calling this woman the one, and Larry pokes fun at him because you're at that age and you're selling to the one. It's just a funny, really funny way. I hope there's more Richard stuff. Now we've lost him. Like, I remember Richard Lewis in the great Mel Brooks movie, Robin Hood Men in Tights. He played Prince John. Oh, man. That was a funny movie, and I've always liked Richard Lewis, and he's been great in Curb Your Enthusiasm, so I hope we get a couple episodes. I have a feeling that this is going to end with Larry in jail, just like Seinfeld ended. So I think he's sort of poking fun at that ending. That'd be great if he does. And continuing love. Curb Your Enthusiasm, it's holding my attention. Next, I'm going to talk about Regime. So we've got a couple of episodes to recap here. Where we left off, you get the Kate Winslet, the Chancellor. She's a bit kooky. She's got a new offsider who is militant, but they seem to have like a on and off, like sort of will they, won't they, love affair. At the end of the first episode, episode 3, she ends up throwing him in jail because of him full on going at her. And then we pick up in the next episode, and she's going through premenopausal. She's done the free trade deal with China, and China's dragging the feet on cobalt exploration, and she's having trouble with China flooding the market with sugar, and her sugar beet unions are rioting, they're protesting. It gets out of hand. She ends up having to go to the factory, and it's a hilarious thing. Like, this whole episode, you've got her going through premenopausal. Everything has to be really, really cold because she's really hot. Everyone's shivering in the palace, and she's like constantly just fanning herself. She's in ice baths all the time, and then when she's going to this sugar beet factory, she's got like a full gas mask, full oxygen mask on. She's got a fan. She hates the smell. They end up giving her a sugar beet plant. She throws it out the window as soon as she can. She hates the stench of it. She thinks that she's done the deal with these sugar beet people to placate them. All this is about she's trying to screw over America, and then now America are trying to screw over her. They're trying to get into the palace through spies, including her offsider who looks after a child. You get Hugh Grant in this episode, who plays the former leader who they've put into jail. The lover soldier has sort of formed a friendship with Hugh Grant. Hugh Grant is going to try and take over, send her to prison, do a trial, and then execute her. Kate Winslet's character. But you get the boy just attacking him. He ends up going back to his cell after he's killed the guards, killed Hugh Grant, and she sees it as a sort of like a love note. So she invites him back into the palace, and how the scene ends is them just attacking each other and just full on kissing in front of her husband, in front of all of her staff, and they end up leaving the room. The husband tries to get back in to stop them and all this stuff like that. It's just, and they're full on going on it. Like, this show is a dark comedy, and I'm actually quite enjoying it. I'm an unabashed Hugh Grant fan. I've loved him in all of the movies recently. Really enjoyed him in Wonka, where he played the Oompa Loompa. He's just playing weird characters, and this was another one. I would have liked to seen his arc a little bit. Would have been great, but the show, Kate Winslet's really, really, really funny, and just her looks that she was giving in this show, her mouth placement was just very, very funny. The last show we're going to look at today is New Look, which is Apple TV Plus show. We've had 6 episodes so far, and it is about Coco Chanel and Christian Dior, set in World War II. Well, it's set afterwards, then they recap World War II, where Christian Dior is working for a designer who is designing clothes for the Nazi wives and girlfriends. He is taking any money that he earns and he is giving it to his sister who's in the resistance. And you see that played by Maisie Williams from Game of Thrones. And you see Coco Chanel, who after the war, was lauded for closing her stores and not selling anything, but she turns out to be a Nazi spy or working for the Nazis to try and get ahead. Coco Chanel's played by Juliette Binoche, who is an Oscar winner for English Patient. She starred in Chocolat with Johnny Depp. She plays Coco Chanel. I've seen a few different ways that she's been interpreted. This seems pretty good. But the real star of the show is Christian Dior, who is played by Ben Mendelsohn. Those who have watched this channel regularly know how much I adore Australian actors, especially Ben Mendelsohn. He is fantastic. I just want the whole show to be focused on him. The 4th episode, where his sister is getting taken to a prison camp in Germany. They're clearing out the resistance out of France and taking him to camps because they want more information out of him. He finds out what train she's on, and it's just heartbreaking how he's running after the train, calling out her name, and I just applaud Mendes, and what a fantastic actor he is. He's just brilliant. I've heard criticism of the show, read it, listened to it online, where it says it's slow. Yeah, I can see that. But the performances in the show, you've also got John Malkovich in the show as well. I've enjoyed their chemistry together, him and Ben Mendelsohn. It's been really good. And Juliette Binoche as Coco Chanel, I'm really like, I want to see where this show ends. It's only a 1 series limited look at the lives of Christian Dior and Coco Chanel. But yeah, look, I'm a sucker for these kind of dramas, and Apple TV is the place to see it. I want to give a shout out to a show that I started watching on Showcase in Australia, and it's on HBO Max in the States. It's Girls on the Bus. I've only watched a couple of episodes. It's based on a book, Chasing Hillary. It's got a good little cast in it. Melissa Benoist from Supergirl. Also has Carla Guccione. She's one of my favourites. They play reporters chasing down leads in the primary. I've only seen a couple episodes, so I don't want to give like a full rundown, but this is just a mixture of Grey's Anatomy / those teen shows on CW with politics, and I'm there for it. I love politics show. Like, as stated in previous episodes, my favourite show ever is West Wing. This is not West Wing, But I just love the political show. I really enjoyed Madam Secretary a couple of years ago. Also enjoyed Commander-in-Chief. It only had 1 year, but Gina Davis was great in that show as well. So Girls on the Bus, hopefully we get a few more episodes and I'll be able to give a full recap in the coming weeks. But that is today's show. Next week, we're going to have a look at Curb Your Enthusiasm. We'll continue to look at New Look. And we'll also have a look at Shogun, which we've got a few episodes on Disney Plus now, and we can give a sort of outcome as if you want to continue watching that show. Thank you everyone for watching and listening. Don't forget to like, follow, and subscribe. Until tomorrow, when we catch up for What's Next, the show where we help you figure out what to watch next. I'm your host, Pete Mitchell. And it's bye.